Bitcoin inflows continue to accelerate, and new all-time highs seem to be made every single day for the top cryptocurrency. One chart is showing us definitively, once and for all, that altcoins too are on the verge of lifting off into the stratosphere, exosphere, and potentially going all the way even to the gigasphere. But what if I told you that this was only the beginning? Another day, another new all-time high for Bitcoin as it has continued to climb above 70,000 US dollars. And some very shocking reasons why we're continuing to do so. The big question, will we just continue to float up? And most importantly, something I want to cover is that many of you have been wondering, when will the rest of the market start moving? And what if I told you that today something happened that absolutely signals that the bust is coming and it won't be big? It's going to be huge. So if you understand this market is not going to go bananas, but we're going to go full out banana mode, hit that like, hit that subscribe, get signed up to FEMEX below if you can buy Bitcoin or altcoins. Without any further ado, let's absolutely jump in to Bitcoin. As of today, yet again, hitting another new all-time high. Very good, very bullish. We're seeing massive inflows across the board. One of the first things I want to talk about is altcoins have just got one of their most massive signals on this chart. The 15-day chart, we've just now gotten the 21 cross above the 50 for the very first time, 50 moving average, for the very first time since June 14th, the week of June 14th, 2020. And the price of the altcoin market was about, the entire altcoin market, the total 3 chart, was about $75 billion in valuation. And from that point forward, in just about 1 year, the entire altcoin market accumulated, it put in about a 10x, going from 75 billion to 750 billion, and then ultimately up to about 1.1 trillion, right? This signal precipitated a massive increase, well over 10x increase in the price of the entire altcoin market. And we're just now getting that same signal, further indicating how much further we have left to go in this market, in this cycle. And even looking at something as simple as the MACD here, look how high this MACD rose during that bull market. We have just really gotten started, and you can see we are coming from a very deep down dark place. We came all the way down to the trenches, down into the no-no zone. This is a place this was not the most fun place to be. But now, this by far is the most fun place to be as we initiate the biggest bounce since the invention, since the creation of human beings themselves. Okay, this is not something to take lightly. Now, I want to highlight a few things. So, welcome to the bull market. Dylan Leclerc pointing out the Bitcoin price weighted by realized price, 30-day % change. If we look at this, we are officially now floating into a Bitcoin bull market, where you can see we have just now flipped green. Red is bear, yellow is neutral, green is bust mode. You can see that illustrated here, and you can also see down here, very likely, in my opinion, we have a long ways to go. Long ways to go. I think we're at the very beginning of this bull market. And I do want to highlight this, Bitcoin, is it potentially entering the belief stage? Well, looking at this chart by Mags, the Scalping Pro, let's take a look at this. We all know the psychology of a market cycle cheat sheet, the Wall Street cheat sheet. I'm sure we all know. I personally want to give my opinion on this, right? In this cycle, usually, as you're coming out of the depths of despair, you quickly go from depression to disbelief, just not believing that it's going to happen. And then all of these other emotions to where you just lose your mind and think it's going to go forever, and then it does not. I personally think that I would change this a little bit. He's saying we're at optimism, maybe going into belief. I think right now the furthest along we are is maybe around hope, because I'm seeing a ton of disbelief. And I talked about this a lot yesterday. I think this market is having a hard time believing that we're going higher. And I think more so than any time in history. I think that this last bear market that we had just absolutely devastated people. I think that more people than ever, well, obviously it was the biggest bull market Bitcoin's ever had in terms of number of participants. More people on the planet were invested in Bitcoin during the last bull market than any point up until that time. And I really think that it really messed with a lot of people when we ended up going down, because I think a lot of those people just thought we would literally go up forever. And man, I don't know. The sentiment of the last 2 years has just been so awful. I think that everything from FTX to Luna to all of these big scams and everything that happened, honestly, I think more people around the world got burnt and more, I think they started to hate crypto because of what happened. And in a sense, if you don't know too much about it and it happens to you, hey, kind of makes sense. But I just personally believe a lot of people just believe the exact same thing is going to happen this time. And maybe we will get another gigantic crash. You know, we'll probably get more bear markets, right? As we always have. But I just think that the fuel we have from all of the people that just have a nasty taste in their mouth from the last crash, I personally think we have a long way to go before we actually reach true thrill and true euphoria on this chart. I still think there is a large portion of people that are in absolute disbelief. And this is evidenced by the fact that yesterday we got a tiny little dump. And again, so many people come out from the woodwork saying like, hey, you know, this is the beginning of the bull trap. We're about to go down. People are still downright scared, full of fear. And this is an interesting concept here. The diagram that Fred Krueger posted by Giovanni, interesting. He says, let me paraphrase. If we look at this diagram, basically what he's saying here is Bitcoin price goes up, the mining becomes more profitable. This draws more capital into mining. Then capital is looked on as the intrinsic value of the network, and the intrinsic value going up then pushes the price up. And it's kind of a reflexive, it's like a feedback loop, right? It just feeds on itself. It's like a snowball effect. It just continues to erupt like that. So I thought that was interesting. We also see Bitcoin ETFs are 58% of the way to flipping gold ETFs for total assets. Insane. Only 2 months of Bitcoin ETFs and they're already on the verge of potentially flipping gold. 60 billion in assets for Bitcoin, about 100 billion in assets for gold. That's just after 8 weeks though. Imagine what Bitcoin can do in 16 weeks. Can it flip gold? Absolutely it can, and I think it will. At this rate, Bitcoin will flip gold ETFs in just a couple of months. We're also seeing that BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF total inflows just overtook Grayscale's total outflows for the first time ever. BlackRock took in over $1 billion yesterday for the first time, and inflows are accelerating while GBTC's outflows are flattening out. And there's a reason for this as well. It also is important to highlight just how much these BlackRock inflows are increasing. We see the different numbers here and just how much they've accumulated in just the last 2 months. And we're also seeing that GBTC only sent about $41 million worth of Bitcoin to their Coinbase Premium account, which is the lowest day of flows, basically of outflows for GBTC. What Alessandro says is that maybe it's time for the selling off to stop, but obviously we don't have enough information yet to know that for sure. It's just a very interesting signal that maybe it is. And I think ultimately that's where we're going anyway, but it is a very promising sign in the short term to look at that. Yesterday, almost 15,000 Bitcoin were purchased by the ETFs, and only 881 were produced by miners. And in about a month, that number will be cut in half of how much is produced. The supply is about to get there's going to be half as much supply issued every single day in just 1 month. And if these ETFs continue to gobble all this Bitcoin up, it's only a matter of time before the inevitable. Bigger busting, bigger gains, massive price expansion. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust outflows actually plunged more than 80% today, as we've seen, after we saw Grayscale file for a mini Bitcoin ETF. So is that maybe stemming some of the bleeding from GBTC and halting some of the outflows? We're also seeing 31 days of inflows out of 33. I mean, it's just an insane chart to look at. These ETFs are blowing everyone's mind. From the most bullish to bearish people, it doesn't matter. Everybody is shocked by this. Both parties are in shock with how actually successful these ETFs have been. And BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF had record inflows yesterday. I think the highest day ever, right? I mean, look at this. Look at these inflows yesterday. I'm curious to see what they will be today. And so we see the stock market, SPX, is having a decent day. We see that the DXY is still kind of, in my opinion, still heading downwards, as I've been saying for a while now. It still looks to be on that same trajectory. Bitcoin looks beautiful. Weekly chart, daily chart continuing to float to the upside. It's just immense buying pressure, and every dip so far has just been gobbled up faster than we can imagine. And I think that the altcoins are closer than ever to also experiencing true movement. We're seeing some of these altcoins, some of these top altcoins have been breaking out and having really nice gains and movement, right? My portfolio has gone up a lot because I hold some altcoins. But I think that, you know, there's a difference between, I mean, for example, what we can do is we take the, you know, basically from where we got this cross back in the summer of 2020, and let's just kind of like put it on roughly here, maybe something like this. This is not out of the ordinary. This is the total 3 chart, potentially reaching valuations of maybe 3, 4, 5 trillion US dollars at the peak, maybe sometime towards the end of this year, beginning of 2025. This would not be shocking to me. I think that overall, this is going to be a relatively close trajectory that we're going to see for the altcoin market over the next 12 months. And what does that mean? Well, to sum it up, I think most people will be pretty satisfied with what their portfolios do. That's the easiest way for me to say that. And get signed up to FEMEX below if you want to buy Bitcoin or altcoins. And without any further ado,